Hello and welcome to Stories Hub. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. On this channel, we bring you affairs issues. Today, we have an exciting topic to discuss, so stay with us till the end. Let's dive in. Aisha adjusted her engagement ring, staring at it with a mix of admiration and doubt. Rayhan had chosen himself a delicate gold band with a small diamond, simple yet meaningful. It should have felt special, but lately, an emptiness lingered beneath her smiles. Sanaa sat across from her, sipping coffee, her gaze flickering toward Rayhan, who was busy typing on his phone. Aisha noticed but said nothing. She had always ignored the subtle glances, the way Sanaa's voice softened around him, the way Rayhan's lips curled in amusement when she spoke. It was harmless, she told herself. Zion entered the cafe, greeting everyone with his usual warmth. His hand naturally found Sanaa's, fingers lacing together effortlessly. But Sanaa's smile faltered for a fraction of a second before she leaned into him, as if reminding herself where she belonged. "So, how's wedding prep?" Zion asked, looking at Aisha. She hesitated, glancing at Rayhan. He barely looked up. "It's going well." Sanaa chimed in, forcing enthusiasm. "She's just overthinking everything. You know how brides are." Rayhan smirked. "Yeah, she likes making things complicated." Aisha felt the sting of his words, disguised as a joke. She changed the subject, but her mind wandered. Did he even care about the wedding? Did he even care about her? Later that evening, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. A simple message. "It's been a while. Let's talk." Her breath hitched. Naveed. Memories crashed into her. The long drives, the stolen kisses, the fire in his eyes when he looked at her. She had loved him once, or maybe she still did. Their breakup had been abrupt, his departure unexplained. And now, just when she had moved on, he was back. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. Rayhan was in the next room, unaware. Aisha hesitated, then typed, "Where?" The reply came instantly. "Our old spot. Tonight." That night, she told Sanaa she needed air, a quick drive to clear her mind. Sanaa nodded but studied her carefully, sensing something unspoken. At the meeting place, Naveed leaned against his car, arms crossed, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "Still as beautiful as ever," he murmured. Aisha folded her arms. "Why now?" "Because you're about to make the worst mistake of your life." She scoffed. "You don't get to say that." His smile didn't fade. "You don't love him." The words cut deep, because she didn't know if they were true or not. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. A message from Rayhan. "Busy?" Her fingers hovered over the screen. Then she locked it, shoving it into her pocket. Naveed's gaze darkened. "That's what I thought." She exhaled, frustration mixing with a dangerous thrill. "This doesn't change anything." He stepped closer, his voice softer. "It already has." Aisha felt the walls she had built cracking, and she wasn't sure she wanted to stop it. Aisha hadn't stopped thinking about Naveed since their meeting. She had told herself it was nothing, just curiosity, just closure. But deep down, she knew better. A single text could pull her back into something she had barely escaped. That night, she lied again, told Rayhan she was meeting Sanaa, told Sanaa she was staying in. Then she met Naveed. The moment she stepped into his car, the air changed. He drove in silence, his fingers tapping the steering wheel. Finally he spoke. "You're different," he said. "You left," she countered. "I had my reasons." She turned to him. "And now?" He pulled over, looked straight into her eyes. "Now I know I want you back." She should have laughed, scoffed, said something rational. But instead she whispered, "It's too late." "Is it?" He leaned in slightly, close enough for her to feel his breath. Her phone buzzed. "Rayhan." She ignored it. Naveed's fingers brushed against hers. A spark. A choice. A mistake waiting to happen. Meanwhile, across the city, Rayhan sat with Sanaa. They hadn't planned to meet alone, but Aisha had canceled, and Zion had other plans. It was just coffee, just conversation. "She's been distant lately," Rayhan admitted. Sanaa hesitated. Maybe she's just overwhelmed. Or maybe she's hiding something. Sanaa bit her lip. A flicker of guilt passed through her. She had no right to judge. Not when she had been noticing Rayhan more, lingering too long on his words, feeling something she shouldn't. Rayhan sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't know what's happening anymore. Sanaa reached for his hand, without thinking. I'm here. Silence. A different kind of tension. His fingers tightened around hers. Then a whisper. I see you, Sanaa. More than I should. She should have pulled away, but she didn't. Zion, on the other hand, had felt something was off for weeks. Sanaa was with him, but not really. A hollow presence, a missing warmth. Tonight, he followed his gut, followed Sanaa, and what he saw made his blood freeze. Rayhan, her hand in his, the way they looked at each other. Like something had already begun. Zion clenched his fist, stepped back, and walked away. He had seen enough. Later, when he called Aisha, his voice was different. We need to talk. She agreed to meet. When she arrived, his face was unreadable. I saw them, he said. Aisha stiffened. Saw what? Sanaa. Rayhan. Something inside her snapped. Not just betrayal. Confirmation. Proof that what she had felt wasn't paranoia. Zion exhaled, looking at her closely. You knew, didn't you? She swallowed. Not for sure. A pause. Then, softer, did you ever love him? She didn't answer. And in that silence, they both knew the truth. Zion reached out, touching her wrist lightly. Maybe we're the fools here. Aisha met his gaze. Or maybe we just love the wrong people. The night stretched between them, heavy with unspoken regrets. And for the first time in a long time, Aisha didn't feel alone. Rayhan watched Aisha as she entered the apartment, her expression unreadable. He had been waiting for her, mind racing with everything Zion had told him. Where were you? His voice was calm, but the tension was unmistakable. Aisha met his gaze, the weight of their years together pressing down on her. Out. With who? She hesitated, then sighed. Does it even matter? Rayhan clenched his jaw. It does when I know it wasn't Sanaa. A beat of silence. Then, almost casually, she asked, And where were you? His eyes flickered, just for a second. Enough. A slow nod. That's what I thought. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. Did you ever love me? A hollow laugh. Did you? Sanaa sat in her car outside Zion's place, debating whether to knock. She had been calling him for hours, but he hadn't answered. She needed to explain, to make him understand. Finally, she stepped out, ringing the doorbell. The door swung open, and the look in Zion's eyes made her stomach drop. I'm sorry, she whispered. He studied her, voice even. For what? Tears welled up. For hurting you. Zion exhaled sharply. And for loving someone else? She looked away. That's what I thought, he murmured. She reached for his hand, but he pulled back. Don't, he said softly. You already made your choice. Naveed waited at the same spot where he had met Aisha last. He had told her to think, to decide if she wanted to rewrite their story. Tonight, he wanted an answer. Aisha arrived, but there was something different in her eyes. I'm leaving, she said. He raised an eyebrow. With me? She shook her head. Alone. A pause. Then a knowing smirk. You're scared. She smiled faintly. No, I'm finally sure. He studied her for a moment, then nodded. Then go. Rayhan sat alone in his apartment, staring at the engagement ring he had placed on the table. It felt meaningless now. He had loved Aisha in his own way, but it had never been enough. Maybe it was never meant to be. Sanaa walked through the city streets, hands in her pockets, heart heavy with regret. She had lost 2 men in one night. Zion, who had given her his all. Rayhan, who had never truly been hers. Zion packed his things in silence. He wasn't sure where he was going, only that he couldn't stay. And Aisha, for the first time in years, walked away from everyone. No lovers, no regrets. Just herself.